Hi everyone, it's Lisa Mears here, and today I'm going to be making some watermelon themed cards using some new products from Pretty Pink Posh's June 2023 release. These watermelons are perfect year-round, but I especially love them for the upcoming summer months. You can use them for friendship cards, thank you cards, and many more. So let's take a look at some of the supplies that I'm going to be using in my video today. First, we have the layered watermelon stencil. It's a 3-layer stencil that will give you some watermelons for your card background. I'm also going to be bringing in the Fruit Borders stamp set, and I'll be using some of the watermelons that are on this set. I'll be using the watermelon stamp set that has a slice of watermelon, a whole watermelon, and a half a watermelon. I'm also going to be bringing in an older stamp set. This is the Mouse Friends stamp set. And I'll also be using the Friend shadow die on the right side. There is a matching hot foil plate available with the Friend die, but I will not be using the hot foil plate in this video. And I will be using the mini scallop card base that is new to Pretty Pink Posh. So this is part of the June release. So let's go ahead and make some cards, and I'm going to start out by just using my wire cutters and cutting apart this square die that's inside of the scallop card base. This card base will make a card that's approximately 3¼ inches square with a scalloped edge. And you can see I went ahead and die cut the white cardstock. It does put a score mark in there so you can fold it. You have that beautiful scalloped edge on 3 of the sides, and there's also some beautiful detail. It's a stitch detail on the top. It also comes with a square layering die that also has some stitching that you can layer right on top. And you can also use that square to put in the middle of the card. This little note card type of die set is so much fun. You can use this when you just need to send a quick note to a friend or a coworker. They also would be perfect for little lunchbox notes for your kids. So here I stamped out the watermelon stamp set onto some Bristol Smooth cardstock, and I'm using my Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens to do some watercoloring. Although I'm not using water, I'm actually using the blender to blend those colors. So for the skin of the watermelon, I'm using the emerald green. I'm also using the light green and then the blender to blend those. The colors that I'm using for the red part of the watermelon are the carmine red. I put the carmine red at the very bottom of that watermelon. It's the darkest red that I'm using. And then I added the light carmine, which is a little bit lighter, and then used the blender to blend those 2 colors, the light and the dark, and then blend them towards the top of that watermelon to make it a little bit lighter in the middle. For the whole watermelon, I'm using the light green and just kind of going over those dark lines on the watermelon, and then using the blender marker to blend that green towards the center of each one of those rows of the watermelon, just to create a little bit of shading there. And then I'm going to go back and do the same thing with the sections that I left white. I was actually going to go in with a darker color, but I ended up using the same color throughout. You definitely could use a darker color to add more depth, but to achieve the look of having a darker color, you can just add more of the same color over the marker once you've laid it down, and just by adding multiple layers of the same marker, it will make that layer look a little bit darker. So you can see that I do have some depth to my watermelon skin, and I'm actually coming in with a water brush and just putting some water down the middle of all of those rows of that watermelon, and then lifting that water up with a paper towel, and you can see that it actually makes the inside part a little bit lighter by taking some of that ink away. Now I'm going to do the same thing for the watermelon slice, and I'm going to color it up the same exact way that I colored the half watermelon at the bottom of the stamp set. So I do want to let you know that these cards are part of a Pretty Pink Posh blog hop, where if you follow along on the blog hop, you have a chance to win a gift certificate to the Pretty Pink Posh store. And I will have more information about that blog hop in the description box of this video. So please check that out if you're interested in joining. I also previously did an unboxing video showing all of the fun products in this Pretty Pink Posh June release. And if you're interested in seeing all of the fun products, take a look at that video and there will be a link to that in the description box as well. So here I die cut the square stitched die from the mini scallop card die set. I'm going to add ink to this layer using some Distress Oxide inks, and the colors that I'm using are the Worn Lipstick and the Cracked Pistachio. I wanted to give this a watermelon feel, obviously because I'm using the watermelon stamp set. I wanted everything to coordinate, so I'm giving it a pink sky to represent the pink fruit part of the watermelon, and then I have the green grassy area at the bottom, which will represent the skin of the watermelon, but I'm leaving the white part in between, so that will represent the rind of the watermelon. I'm going to add some shimmer spritz spray to this background. This is the sparkle color, so I sprayed it and then just taking a paper towel and lifting up some of that ink color, but you can see all of that beautiful shine and shimmer on that background. Now I'm just going to take my stamps that I die cut with the coordinating dies, and I'm going to position them where I want them on my card layer. I'm going to put some of the leaves behind the watermelons. And I'm also going to add a sentiment. The sentiment I stamped out is Thanks A, and then I just used my scissors to fussy cut in a rectangular shape around that. And then I also stamped out the word melon. And you can see that with the coordinating dies, you do have a die that will cut out the word melon for you, so you don't have to worry about fussy cutting that. And then I'll go ahead and glue all of these images to that card layer. For the word melon, I did add some thin foam strips behind it so that it's popped up on top of those watermelons. I loved this stamp set so much that I decided to make 2 more backgrounds and also color some more of the stamps and just make different designs with those stamps on the card layer. So this one is going to say "You're one in a melon." So again, I stamped out the "You're one in a," cut those apart in a rectangular shape, added them to the card layer, and then the word melon in this case is going to go right across the whole watermelon, and I'll be able to add the watermelon slice to that in the bottom right hand corner. For this next one, I use the Friend Shadow die and die cut that out. I'll add that to the bottom of that layer, and I'll tuck a watermelon behind it and add a watermelon slice, and then I'm going to add a stamp sentiment above that that says "Hi Sweet," and then we'll finish that off with the word friend. So now I'm just going to add these squares to the top of the scalloped card base. I think these little cards are so cute, and I love the colors of all of these images. So here are my 3 mini scallop cards using the watermelon stamp set. I just love how these turned out. So I want to create one more card in this video since it goes along with the whole watermelon theme, and I'm going to use the layered watermelon stencil to create my card background. So the actual cardstock that I'm using is a light green cardstock. Again, I wanted to use the colors of the watermelon for my card, so I chose to use the green since that represents the skin of the watermelon. And then for this first layer, I'm coloring up the fruit part of the watermelon with my scrapbook.com Havana Red ink. I did, by the way, cut my cardstock to 6 inches by 6 inches since that's the size of the stencil, but I am going to end up cutting it down in the end. Once I finish with that layer, I'll remove the stencil and I'll line up the next stencil, which is the skin of the watermelon. And I'm going to ink this one up with the scrapbook.com succulent ink. And for the last layer of the stencil, that is the watermelon seeds. So I'll go ahead and line that one up, and I'm using my scrapbook.com hybrid black ink to ink up those seeds. And here's a look at what that stencil looks like when it's all inked up. I love the way this looks. I'll set that stencil aside and now I'll work on coloring my stamps. The stamp set I'm using is the Mouse Friends stamp set from Pretty Pink Posh. And I'm just going to color these with my Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens. These are so easy to color. I just put the darker color around the edge of the mouse, which is my mustard color, and then took the blender and then just blended that color towards the center. Once I finished that one time, I did it again by using the mustard color around the edges to make it a little bit darker, and then blended that back towards the center. So again, just two colors there, actually just one color and the blender, and you can also use the water brush instead of the blender if you don't have the blender. I did leave an opening there for the ears and the belly to color those up in a pink, and the color I'm using is the Sugar Almond Pink. So I laid a little bit of the Sugar Almond Pink down and then used the blender to spread that color out. I'm also using the Fruit Borders stamp set, and I just stamped the watermelon border. And I'm just going to color a few of these using the same colors that I colored the watermelon in the previous cards. Since I'm not using this stamp set as a border, I'm just going to use a few of the watermelons since they're the perfect size to fit in the hands of the mice. So I'm just coloring a few of them here, and then I'll use my scissors to cut these watermelon out of the cardstock, because the dies that coordinate with this will actually cut the entire border out, and I just want to cut the actual individual watermelon pieces. I die cut the word friend with white cardstock, and I'm using the same Zig markers that I used to color the watermelon, and I'm just creating an ombre look. So I'm putting the darker color at the bottom. This is the carmine red. Then I'm going to come in with the light carmine and color right in the middle or right above that darker color. And then I'm going to finish that off towards the top just by blending from the bottom to the top. So here I'm just pulling some of that color up towards the top. I realize I am going to need a water brush to get more water onto this cardstock to be able to spread that color a little bit better. So I am using a water brush here. It just gives me better control of spreading more of that color than that blender marker was going to allow me to do. So again, just an ombre look from dark at the bottom to the lighter color at the top. And then I'm going to remove this word die from the cardstock, and I'll add it to a black shadow layer. So I'm just going to put some glue here on the back and add it to the black cardstock. And here I'm just going to add the dot for the eye. Next, I used the arch die from the Stitch Duo 3 die set. Die cut a piece of vellum, and the reason I am die cutting vellum here is because I want to soften the look of the watermelon background, although I don't want to cover it completely. So if I were to die cut this with regular cardstock, I wouldn't be able to see the watermelons behind it, and it would cover most of that really pretty pattern, and I didn't want to do that. So I just used vellum to soften up the images, and I'm going to add all of these stamped images to the front of the vellum. So here's the Hi Sweet Friend stamp that I stamped out, and I'm just going to cut that in half because I just want to use the beginning of that sentiment, the words hi sweet, because I already have the word friend that I die cut out from the word die. So I'm going to position all of my images as well as the word die on this arch vellum piece, and I'm going to tape everything directly to that piece of vellum. So here I'm going to go ahead and add some double-sided tape. I could have also used glue here. I just had tape right next to me, so that's why I pulled that out. And I'm going to tape down the word friend at the bottom of the arch. And then once I add the word friend, I'm going to glue the watermelon slices in the hands of the mice. And then I'll position the mice above the word friend. I'm going to make it look like this one is sitting on the word and the other mouse is facing the other one. And I'm going to pop another piece of watermelon right above the R in friend so that the other mouse there on the left has something to stand on. So I'll go ahead and glue down the watermelon slices, and I'll glue down the mice. And I'm also going to add that sentiment stamp up in the area there on the top right where I had the open space. And now I'm going to add the vellum piece to my card. It's important that when you're adding vellum, just put adhesive behind the stamped images or the die cuts. You don't want to put glue or tape all over the entire back side because that adhesive will show through the vellum. So I go ahead and add the arch, and I added that layer to a piece of black cardstock, and then I'm adding that entire layer to an A2 size white card base, and I just love how this card turned out. So I hope you like this video, and if you did like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Remember, all supplies will be linked in the description box of this YouTube video and on my blog, and be sure to hop over to my blog to participate in that Pretty Pink Posh blog hop. Thanks so much for watching, everyone, and have a great day. Bye-bye.